locked seam
Ooh,
with 3 lines of
stunning.
one single needle chain stitch. This type of chain stitch is super common in workwear because it's more efficient.
You gotta protect the tootsies at all costs. People out there fiending, you know? Like, you never know who's gonna see your feet and just need them, you know? Off of a video about chain stitches. But in all fairness, as I've been like making more modifications to my own clothing and making some of my own stuff, it is really fascinating, and like finding ways to make sure that your shit doesn't just fall apart, because that's always an interesting thing to explain. Like, you're at a family gathering and you're wearing something because you're proud of it and it looks a little outrageous. You're there to ruffle feathers, and then you really ruffle feathers when your pants fall apart, and then you end up, just making the books.
Produce, and these little loops of thread make it more resilient than a 301 lock stitch. Now these pants are special because they don't just have that technique on the inseam. They have that
That's
exact
a
same
lot of
finish
stitching
on the
to.
outseam as well. The reason
I
that's
don't know how they're
common
doing
is
that.
because to make a seam with this technique, 2 interlocking J shapes of fabric are sewn together through the top. For just one single seam, that's fine. But closing a tube with that same technique on both sides is much harder on a standard flatbed sewing machine.
Okay.
So, how the remaining ends of
If you've ever like tried to sew pants or anything on like a long pair, something like that, like a sleeve, something all the way down, like in the middle, but especially like a thicker material like jeans, it is really hard to get it positioned right on the sewing machine. Like, tubes are surprisingly hard, and then you end up accidentally like sewing the wrong part of it together, and then you end up with a jean pant that's like you couldn't fit a leg through it, you know? It's difficult.
the secret to the construction lies in the equipment.
Okay.
These pants were sewn on a caballo machine. When we tried to close a tube with this machine, all that extra fabric got in the way. And we had
So
to
they
sew
had a
through
separate
the tunnel
arm
in order to close the
that
tube.
comes out from
A
the side of the
caballo
machine?
on the other hand, feeds off the arm, so we can take that extra fabric and put it below the sewing area.
Oh, that's
The remaining ends
fascinating.
of fabric are just fed into these folders, and the machine stitches them shut for a clean finish. If you're a designer, you gotta know how clothes are actually made. If you're
I
just a regular person who
would
wears
really
clothes,
like some of those,
it's still interesting to know.
because that would
Thank you for
honestly
watching,
make
and have
most
a
of the
good
things
day.
that I fix